When I found out that Alexia had been in a car accident, I immediately withdrew from the regional piano competition and hurried to the hospital. But it turned out she was completely fine. She had just tricked me. Alexia then laughed, saying that because I actually quit the competition, Leo's first place was now guaranteed. Seriously, no one else could mess with me, Adrian, the way Alexia does. She just shrugged and said, "I can't help it if you love me that much." I turned away from her and made a quick phone call. "Mom," I said, my voice low, "I want to change the person I'm engaged to next month." Everyone always just assumed Alexia and I were dating because we were practically raised together, the classic childhood sweethearts. But we were honestly just platonic friends. We hadn't even held hands. Alexia always made sure to clarify, "Adrian, I only see you as a close friend. If it wasn't for your mother setting up our engagement on her deathbed, I would never marry you." This apparently made her feel completely justified in spending her time drinking, flirting with good-looking guys, and getting far too friendly with my stepbrother. When I got angry about it, Alexia would just say, "Isn't this how our social circle works? Marry someone wealthy, but sleep with someone you actually love? Adrian, even if we do get married, we'll just lead separate lives." As soon as I left the hospital, I switched off my phone and took an impromptu trip abroad for a week. I really splurged, and honestly, it did wonders for my mood. When I finally got back home and turned my phone on, it immediately exploded with missed calls. Everyone was texting or calling, asking where I'd been and saying Alexia was absolutely frantic trying to find me. I called a family meeting right away and announced very clearly, "I want nothing to do with Alexia. Unless it's news of her obituary, I don't need to hear a single thing about her." In less than half an hour, Alexia showed up at my house. She blocked the front door and looked a little shocked when she saw me dressed up. "A whole week in the hospital and you didn't care?" she said, sounding annoyed. "And now where are you going, looking so fancy?" "I'm going to find a woman, obviously," I replied, a little impatient. "Now move." Alexia chuckled. "You're just trying to get a reaction out of me, as if I don't know the kind of women you usually hang around with." I just shrugged. "If you won't believe the truth, why even ask?" She nudged my shoulder, trying to lighten the mood. "Adrian, let's not be mad. Tomorrow is my birthday, and even Sarah is flying in from overseas for it. You should come too and not cause any drama." Sarah is the Smiths' illegitimate daughter, 2 years older than Alexia, and honestly better than her in every way. A guaranteed way to set Alexia off is to suggest she's not even as good as the illegitimate Sarah. Since Alexia was attempting to smooth things over, she definitely didn't want to lose face in front of Sarah. With a slight, sarcastic smile, I said, "Oh, I'll be there all right. Sarah is about to be my fiancée. I have to be there to support her." Alexia absolutely blew up. "Adrian, you'd really say anything just to annoy me. Fine, we'll see who gives in first." Alexia became obsessed with trying to one-up me this time. She went on extravagant shopping sprees with Leo, constantly showing off their relationship as if to tell the whole world that he was her one and only true love. She probably thought seeing all this would make me furious, and that I'd call her to yell at her, like I always used to. But she didn't know that Leo was already on my side. When I quit the piano competition, Leo did too. He got a beating from his mother, and I just happened to walk in on it. I told her coldly, "Martha, if you ever hit Leo again, I'll cut off your credit card." Martha's face went through every shade of the rainbow. Though she was clearly unhappy, she didn't dare argue with me. That night, Leo snuck into my room, his eyes teary. "I never flirted with Alexia," he confessed. "She actually paid me to act that way just to provoke you. She constantly puts me down and avoids me, trying to make others think I'm chasing her, not that she's trying to get my attention." Once I figured out the truth, I got really curious about how Alexia's mind worked. I thought, if it weren't illegal, she'd already be a cold body on an operating table. I considered it for a moment, then I sent Alexia a text message from Leo's phone. Alexia, your actions really upset my brother. Send me $500,000 and I'll play along at the birthday party. He'll feel better and forgive you right away. Without a single word, she transferred the money. Leo looked at all those zeros with total adoration in his eyes. He split $300,000 with me. I rolled my eyes. Leo, eager to please me, started massaging my shoulders. I sent a few pictures of evening gowns to someone. I'm going to Alexia's birthday party. Which dress do you think would look best on me? The typing bubble kept flashing on the other end. Alexia was video chatting with Leo. Leo, look at what your brother's doing, she said. Leo, seeing my signal, told her flatly, he's busy chasing women. Alexia smirked. Adrian's just putting on a show to mess with me. He really does care. There was laughter coming from the other side of the screen. Alexia is something else, huh? Someone said. Everyone knows Adrian is all cold, but he melts for Alexia. The person sounded sleazy, and others just laughed. I watched from outside the camera's view, glancing at Alexia, who actually blushed instead of yelling at that foul-mouthed jerk. Then, suddenly, someone stood up, grabbed a bottle from the table, and threw it at the vulgar speaker. I was completely shocked when I recognized the face. It was Sarah. For 3 days after that, Sarah didn't reply to any of my messages. After asking around, I found out she was basically grounded. As an illegitimate child, getting into a public fight was definitely going to cause a stir. Rumors were flying about Sarah being violent, but no one ever explained why. I remembered that sleazy guy's name was Nick. His family was in the lumber business, and he was always chasing Alexia, trying to secure custom furniture orders from the Booth family. I thought about it for a second, got completely dressed up, and went to Alexia's birthday party. The room was loud. People were drinking, playing cards, and singing. But the second I walked in, every eye was on me. Alexia was sitting with Leo, doing their duet thing. When she saw me, she missed a few beats in the song. Her friend started whispering, "Damn, Adrian looks good today." Adrian's still hung up on Alexia, huh? Alexia heard them, and a smug look crossed her lips. She called Nick over and said to me, "Adrian, I'm not sure how my friend ticked you off, but his family's factory lost orders and had to close down. He wants to apologize today. Can you cut him some slack?" Nick put on a sheepish grin, trying to apologize. I didn't even look at Alexia. I just walked right past her. Alexia was stunned, and you could hear a pin drop in the room. I walked over to Sarah, giving her a gentle kick on the shin. Sarah looked up at me, looking a bit uncomfortable. That's when I noticed the bruise near her mouth. I figured she probably took a hit from her dad because of Nick Smith. I stared at her for a second, then scoffed. No wonder you haven't answered my calls. Taking blows and swallowing your pride. Sarah didn't think you could handle so much, I thought. Sarah stayed quiet, trying to move away. Alexia walked over, looking mad. "Adrian, aren't you going to give me a birthday gift?" I grinned. "How about a funeral wreath? Want one?" She went pale with anger. Alexia's friend gave her a push, trying to make her hug me. I dodged and lost my footing, ending up tumbling onto Sarah. Sarah's hand instinctively landed on my waist. Her warm touch made my heart pound. I felt her grip tighten and her body go tense. Sarah quickly steadied me, then gently pushed me away. Even in the middle of all that chaos, she remained perfectly calm and composed. If I hadn't seen her fiery kiss before, I would have thought she was completely cold. No one knew about my secret, that I had been involved with Sarah. After high school, I applied to the local university, and would you believe it, Alexia changed her mind and went to study in the UK. During that time, I became the town's running joke. People who didn't like me laughed, saying, "Even a good girl can't handle a bad boy's cling." They thought Alexia ran off because she was scared of me. I called her out, and she hit me with that gem. Marry someone rich. Love someone else. I vented to my friends about how stupid Alexia was, and someone mentioned Sarah, the Booth family's deaf, illegitimate daughter. She's a real, untouchable beauty. My buddy said, "One guy tried wooing her forever, and she never budged." We made a bet. Whoever could win Sarah would get a limited edition watch. Despite the drama with Alexia, I decided to go for Sarah. Sarah was 2 years ahead of me, studying computer science at a top university. She was the most sought-after girl in the department. Whenever I had free time, I followed her around. I found out she lived a life so basic it was unbelievable. Up at 6 a.m. sharp for a 1-hour run. Then, if she didn't have class at 3 p.m., she was always in the library, and after 8 p.m., she'd have dinner and fish by the back lake. After a few days, I started thinking about giving up. Dating her might bore me to death. On the very day I decided to quit, I finally connected with Sarah. Sarah was by the lake, fishing like clockwork. I was being absolutely devoured by mosquitoes. While I was frantically swatting them away, Sarah walked over and handed me an insect repellent. She looked at me coolly and said, "Fishing in light clothes? Bold move." She eyed my gear. I was speechless. Wasn't I just sticking to my act? With welts all over my back, I asked Sarah to apply some ointment for me. I swear, I didn't mean anything by it. I knew Sarah was straight-laced. She'd never take advantage. But she just stood there holding the bottle. "About to be mosquito chow," she said. "Sorry, I only touch my boyfriend's skin." I blurted out, "Then I'll be your boyfriend." Sarah stared for a few seconds, then finally said, "Okay." So, completely cluelessly, I won Sarah. She added a new hobby besides fishing, reading, and walking: kissing me. Alexia got angry and cozied up to Leo, singing sappy love songs. I ignored her and sat down next to Sarah. Alexia's friends hyped up the scene, encouraging her and Leo to sing. The room was drowning in their over-the-top antics, but Sarah sat there, cool and composed, in a hidden, unseen corner. I leaned into her, letting her hand rest on my bare back. Her warmth was electric. Sarah's eyes remained fixed on the flowers, hesitant to move. I got up. I snatched a rose as I was heading out. As the door shut, I saw Alexia put down her microphone, looking annoyed. "Not singing, Alexia?" her friends asked. She snapped, "He won't even look at me. What's the point?" I perched myself on the terrace railing, counting down from a minute. After 48 seconds, someone pushed the door and came over. It usually took at least a minute to walk from the room to the terrace, but Sarah made it in 48 seconds, standing right in front of me, still calm, not even breathless from the hurry. I pressed my palm against her chest. Her heart was racing. Sarah gripped my wrist, her eyes lowered. I playfully tickled her neck with the rose. The petals fell, disappearing into her collar, which made me curious. With a grin, I asked, "Do your words still stand?" 3 years ago, I wanted to break up with Sarah. She held my hand tight, tears in her eyes. "Adrian, even if..." You're using me for a bet or just to fill your loneliness. It doesn't matter, she said. As long as you don't leave me, I'm fine. I was really annoyed at the time and blurted out, I'm getting engaged to Alexia. She's my legitimate fiancée. What do you think you are? A mistress? After a moment, Sarah said with great difficulty, I'm willing to be your mistress. But even though she humiliated herself like that, I still didn't turn back. Sarah stood alone in the pouring rain, like an abandoned dog. I thought she would hate me forever and never come back. I didn't expect I'd see her again. 3 years later, Sarah had become much tougher. When she heard my question, she looked up at me. Adrian, she said coolly, you think I'm as foolish as I was 3 years ago? You're having a fight with Alexia and want to use me to let off steam. I'm not your dog to command. Sounds firm, right? Then why are you still standing here without moving an inch? I challenged. With a cold face, she said, Don't think I have any lingering feelings for you. When you're mad, nobody can handle it. I wrapped my arm around her neck, pulling her close to my lips. You refused me, and now I'm mad. Sarah, kiss me and I'll calm down. I don't remember if I leaned in first, or if she did. Sarah's kiss was as passionate as a summer storm, hot, all-consuming. She pushed me into a private booth where no one could see. Her lips moved down my neck, being careful not to leave any marks. I knew she was thinking about my reputation. She yanked open a few buttons on my shirt. I was going wild. Sarah couldn't hold back and bit me. Then we heard Alexia knocking. Adrian, are you in there? The door's unlocked. I'm coming in. The doorknob slowly turned with a grating sound. Sarah was kneeling on one knee. I nudged her, mouthing, Continue. Just as the door opened, I shouted, Alexia, don't come in. I didn't even notice my own voice was breathless. The person outside suddenly stopped moving. My mind was a complete mess, gripping Sarah's arm. I don't know how long it stayed quiet outside. Alexia's dry voice came again, suppressing her emotions. Adrian, what are you doing in there? I didn't have time for her. Sarah opened a water bottle, rinsed her mouth, and gave me a drink. Her fingers pressed on my lips. I playfully bit her. Alexia's voice sounded like she was about to cry, and she slapped the door. I won't come in. Don't worry. Suddenly, Sarah inexplicably smiled and kissed my lips. Once I caught my breath, I lazily said, We're having an affair. Want to come take a look? Alexia was silent for a long time before saying, Adrian, I was such a fool before, always making you mad. I won't do it anymore. I'll treat you right. The cake's ready. It's your favorite mango filling. I'll wait for you. I was about to head back to the booth when Sarah asked, Do your words still count? I turned to look at her. She looked colder and more stunning than before. Her gaze was like being trapped by a Venus flytrap. I blinked innocently. Which words? I asked, playing dumb, pushing her into a corner. A blush crept up Sarah's ears. Pressing her palms together, she used all her dignity to say, Let me be your mistress. I scratched her chin, smiling. Nope, doesn't count. Sarah turned her head, lightly biting my hand without force. Adrian, you're messing with me again. When I returned to the main room, I heard a loud bang as soon as I walked in. The next second, flower petals fell everywhere. Alexia knelt on one knee, holding 2 rings. Even though we were technically already engaged, she hadn't said all this before. Adrian, she said, all these years, my heart has only had room for you. I did all those stupid things just to get your attention, to show you I mattered. Not anymore. I love and stand by you alone. Adrian, let's get married. Alexia's friends clapped and whistled excitedly, urging me to agree. I looked at Alexia, suddenly feeling her face was blurry. "Alexia, look, let's buy this." In the dead of night, we'd sit in the cemetery, chatting with my mother, just because dreams of her woke me up. We'd gaze at the stars, seriously discussing which one was my mother. All these years, I had ignored Alexia's quirks. I had thought I loved Alexia. But then I realized I just loved what little my mother left behind in this world. I stared at Alexia, hesitating to respond. Her face slowly began to show a hint of unease. I lowered my head, taking the ring, examining it. "Ugly," I muttered. Alexia stood up, thrilled. "Adrian, I knew you'd say yes." She gave Sarah a challenging look. "I'm the one you love most. Unlike some deaf girl who acts like a shameless whore. Show off all you want, you'll end up with nothing." Sarah, her face cold, stood silently by me like a shadow. Despite the humiliation, she kept quiet for my sake. I tossed the ring back to Alexia, pulling Sarah's arm. I asked Alexia, my tone curious. "Alexia, didn't I tell you already? Sarah is my fiancée, so proposing now means you want to become the mistress?" The room went completely silent. Sarah glanced at me, seemingly frozen. Her eyes turned red and blinked slowly, holding back tears. I felt her hand trembling, shocked by her huge reaction. Clutching the ring, Alexia spoke through gritted teeth. "Adrian, even if you're mad, using this deaf girl as an excuse isn't right." Her friend Nick came over and deliberately shoved Sarah hard. Sarah's left hearing aid hit the ground. "Adrian, seriously, you're comparing a deaf person to Alexia? She's an unwanted, illegitimate kid. She's not even fit to lace Alexia's shoes." Sarah's ears don't hear well, and her face looked a bit pale. I couldn't keep quiet, and warned sharply. "I respect you, and that's why you're a big shot like Alexia. If I, Adrian, don't respect you, you wouldn't even be allowed inside my house." News of my breakup with Alexia spread all over town by the next day. The Booth family hosted a dinner party to apologize to me. Sitting at the head of the table, I distractedly played with my phone. The person next to me smelled faintly of smoke, and I glanced at them with a frown. Alexia's father quickly ushered them out, then poured me a glass of juice. He said kindly, "Adrian, after so many years with Alexia, how can it end just like that? I've already taught her a lesson for her mistakes. She'll make it up to you by accompanying you to Paris for a few months. Can we just put this behind us?" Alexia looked at me, her face drawn, like she hadn't slept in days. Her face was swollen. It seemed she had been roughly beaten. Her father always spoiled her, so this must have been her first real punishment. I looked at Alexia with a smirk. "Does it hurt?" Alexia immediately put on a pitiful face, nodding. "Adrian, it hurts a lot." With my chin resting in my hand, I said gently, "Get used to it. There are more beatings to come." Alexia's face froze. Her father raised his glass in a respectful gesture to casually toast me. Clinking glasses, I said, "Uncle, you've worked with my family for years. Our business has always been stable. I won't stop business just because I broke off my engagement with Alexia." I added with good humor, "And besides, Sarah is also your daughter. At the end of the day, we're still family." As soon as I said this, the table went quiet. They all looked at Sarah. No one had taken her seriously at this event. They thought I was just using her to get back at Alexia. So, Sarah sat at the end, like she was just a side character. Alexia's father paused for a moment, then smiled. "Adrian's right. It was narrow-minded of me." He personally walked over to Sarah and invited her to join us, Alexia, shocked and embarrassed, said, "Dad, you want me to make room for this deaf girl?" I said, annoyed, "Uncle, Sarah will be my wife. Not respecting her means not respecting me. We can skip the meal if that's the case." Without hesitation, Alexia's father slapped her. He shouted, "I've spoiled you beyond repair. Sarah is your sister. How can you talk to her like that?" Others chimed in with advice. "That's right, Alexia. Being impulsive was okay as a kid, but now you should know better. Sarah studied abroad all these years, went through a lot. She should come back to the Booth family and help her dad." For the first time in 25 years, Sarah got family recognition. Before, she was just the illegitimate, deaf child. Faced with her relatives' sudden concern, Sarah remained indifferent. I caught a hint of sarcasm in her eyes. I'd had enough of the charade for the day. I took Sarah's hand, and we left. I asked her, "Feel better with all this fuss?" Sarah looked blank. "You showed up here just to cheer me up," I smirked. "What else would you think?" Sarah seemed uneasy. "I thought you might have had second thoughts." I teased, "Haven't changed my mind yet, but who knows about the future?" Sarah kissed me, whispering, "I'll never give you a chance to." Sarah's epilogue. I've looked at those 2 marriage certificates 100 times. It all still feels like a dream. The man I longed for is really my husband. Everyone assumes I met Adrian at his house. That's not true. When I was 17, I had a high fever that wouldn't go down. My mother didn't take me to the doctor. Instead, she dragged my sick self to ask the Booth family for money. Unfortunately, they gave us nothing and threw us out. "It's all your fault!" My mother slapped me hard, leaving me on the busy road in the pouring rain. At night, I sat under the bus stop, dazed by the fever. I looked at him, foggy, thinking I must be hallucinating to see things. He sat at the other end of the bench, absently flicking water off his umbrella. Adrian suddenly said, "My mom doesn't want a divorce because she's worried about me. If we leave, I'll lose my inheritance. Over the years, she's cried herself to sleep watching my dad move on with woman after woman. She tortures herself and me. I don't want anyone sacrificing for me, and I don't want to carry someone else's life. One day, I'll control the whole company and give my mom her freedom." This is why Adrian was so determined to break up with me. I got an offer from a top international university, but didn't want to leave him, thinking of declining the chance to study abroad. Once Adrian found out, he wanted to end things. He didn't want anyone to live their life for him or to be a burden. He's never been a flower needing protection. He's a bird flying solo in the sky. Before leaving, Adrian tossed his wallet to me. "Hey, get yourself to a hospital, or you look like you might die." My left ear lost hearing that night. After the fever broke, it hardly hurt a thing. After high school exams, I got into a university with the city's top score. This became my pass into the Booth family's circle. Even when humiliated, I've never thought of leaving. Only here could I see Adrian. Everyone in the Booth family knew that Adrian and Alexia were childhood sweethearts, really close. And for a while, I kept wondering, if someone like Alexia could be with Adrian, why couldn't I? I was like a shadow, secretly watching everything about Adrian. Adrian went abroad with his mom for recuperation, and it was half a year after his mom passed away before I saw him. It was a sunset evening. He was sitting in the garden among the flowers, calmly watching others gossip about him. I heard Adrian's dad had an issue, and Adrian was the only child, so his status was rock solid. Some whispered that Adrian poisoned his dad, saying he was so young but already had a heart of stone. I stood behind the curtain on the second floor and saw Adrian leave with a mocking look. Those 2 gossips turned white as a sheet, like quails that lost their tongues. Adrian sneered and walked away. I never saw those two again after that. Later, when I talked to Adrian about it, he chuckled, saying, "They weren't wrong. You know my dad's condition? I played a part in it." Adrian knew how to use his looks well. Anyone who saw him cry couldn't help but feel sorry for him, especially his own father. After his mom's death, Adrian quickly realized his dad would remarry. That meant he could have siblings, competing with him for the inheritance. On the night of his mom's funeral vigil, Adrian sat in the living room, quietly crying. "Dad, I dreamt you took Mom and me to the amusement park. I sat on your shoulders and felt like the happiest kid in the world, but now I've lost Mom, and I might lose you too, right? Someday some stepmom will move in, and I'll be the unluckiest kid." He cried like someone utterly helpless. The next morning, his dad went to the hospital for a vasectomy, but there were complications, and his dad ended up with the condition. Adrian gave up the chance to study abroad and stayed in town. He started his own brand at 18, and within 3 years, it was ready to go public. Adrian and his team made a strong entry into the family business. The G Group started with daily necessities, then moved into cosmetics and personal care. The beauty market was always lackluster, but with Adrian's leadership, the stock prices soared, and the company had a new beginning. Everyone thought he was just a lovesick dope chasing after Alexia, but during the years he was closest to her, he quietly took control of some of the Booth family's production lines. The Booth family tried a risky game, but ended up losing. After marrying Adrian, I gave up my overseas position. During those years abroad, I had a stake in a smart robotics company. Now it's doing well, giving me a few $1,000,000 a year in dividends. I handed over the card to Adrian and went to teach at my alma mater. This way, I have time to be with him and continue my research. When Adrian found out, he gave me a sharp bite under my chin. "Sarah," he said, "I told you you don't need to sacrifice for me." I whispered, "I can lose everything, just not you. Adrian's already so busy. If I get caught up in my career too, we'd drift apart sooner or later." He didn't know how long it took me to get to him. There's no way I'd give up on him for a career. Adrian squinted at me. "Don't pretend to be innocent. Leo already told me you pushed him to set us up." Hearing that, my face turned crimson. I didn't dare to reply. It was true. I had solved a big technical problem for his friend, and in return, he persuaded Adrian to pursue me. During that time, I was really torn. I feared Adrian would come after me just to spite Alexia, but at the same time, I dreaded he wouldn't be interested at all. When he finally showed up in the library, I couldn't focus on a single word. Adrian truly had no patience, sighing while reading, yawning while jogging, nearly dozing off while fishing. Just as he was about to give up, I made my move, and for the rest of my life, I won't ever let go.
Where is that? East houses? Cool, good talk.
You got supplies over here. Bro, this is so boring. I don't know why I did.
Buddy, I was in tunnels. I'm nowhere. Like, I'm literally on the other side of the map from you.
I understand that, bro. It's every game. It's just kind of boring.
You gotta have like some level of like awareness.
Help's on the way. What are you even talking about like that ass? What do you mean some level of awareness? Awareness in what? Where you are on the map?
Like I pinged at the start of the game and I landed there. I don't know how it's like not like known.
Also, just use your mic.
Yo,
I didn't see
Kelly,
anything, dude.
Krista.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's it matter anyways?